Hi, everyone. Welcome to this extraordinary panel that we have here with extraordinary people. Elena Eliseyenko, she's the head of S&P for global ratings in Central Eastern Europe, CIS, and Russia, including Turkey. And Aslı Selçuk, she is the chair lady of TÜYİD. Welcome. And
thank you, Cenk.
We have an important task here. Obviously, we will try to put through the idea why sustainable finance or how sustainable finance can be reached, and what is the interpretation, especially from an investor relations perspective, on how companies are doing on ESG, what they should be doing on ESG, and what really matters. I will put through Elena first, and then I will let Aslı, and I will have basically 2 questions for each of you, like around 6 minutes. Elena, you're involved with different companies surrounding the region, throughout the region, and I'm sure you're seeing through many changes within time. I'll be really happy, and probably the audience will be very happy to know what you think is the perspective of these companies when they are moving into improving their ESG efforts, and what is their perspective as companies, but also what is the perspective of the outside world, so basically the stakeholders out there. And if you look through what has been changing more recently with regards to the stakeholders, with specific stress on the investor perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Your voice, thank you.
Thank you, and hello everyone. It's great to be part of this great panel and the part of this great event. Of course, things are changing rapidly, and they're changing first of all for us, S&P as a company, because as you know, we're traditionally known for our credit ratings, and now for several past years, we've been entering this new world with our ESG products, which are new to us, new to investors, but we were specifically asked by investors to come to the market with them to provide our independent analysis, because that's ultimately what the market is looking to receive. I would say there's several groups of stakeholders that are currently looking for ESG risk analysis. And well, let's start first of all from the stakeholders, from the shareholders of the companies. They expect engaged and effective, the expectation from the board is actually different now. So and these expectations should be met. The board is now more and more, and it's increasingly seen as driving growth, as driving the management of ESG risks specifically. Asset managers, debt holders, customers, employees, and that's a very particular group as well, especially in some of the regions and some of the countries. We're seeing that some employees even suggest that they would like to, they would agree to a smaller salary, but they would agree that they would willingly work for the company that values the new norms that support climate change initiatives. So this is what also changing in the society. For example, tomorrow I'm speaking at the conference in Kazakhstan, which is called ESG and the new responsibility to the society. So that is the new norm, right? And another group, which is also very influential, I would say, this group is regulators. So the ESG-related regulation has proliferated, and largest economies of the world are now concentrating and are focusing on disclosure requirements, on including voluntary and mandatory disclosures beginning in 2020. So Now in 2022, we're seeing this process has even advanced, and it's going forward with a quite a rapid pace. But maybe let me stop specifically on the kind of the two biggest groups that we as S&P are dealing with our ESG product suite. So first group, and very important group for us, is investors. And as you know, S&P for more than 160 years, we've been functioning to make the investors, to help the investors make their informed decisions. So the investor has the right to know, and this is basically what we cater to them. And when we ask the investors for their referrals, what we're hearing is actually what they want to know about ESG and what matters to them, what's important. First of all, it's of course, it's understanding the preparedness. This is key, and this is the thing which is relevant for their risk plans. They need to understand how businesses are prepared to ESG risks. What is the horizon of this preparedness, right? What is the depth of this preparedness, and how this may affect the financial results? They require qualitative assessment of a quantitative framework, and that's where we come forward. Investors would like to see most issuers covered by independent ESG analysis, because it actually helps them to better frame their own analysis. They need a tool in their toolbox. They need comparability across industry and not just within sectors. As for the issuers, and as we discussed as we were preparing for this session, this is a very a kind of an aspect that's very often mentioned by the issuers. Whenever there's a roadshow, whenever they offer a market an instrument, a debt instrument, the first thing that comes up at the roadshow, and the first and foremost, is ESG factors. It's not just financial part of their reporting. It's the non-financial part, which now became the first priority for the investors. So what are they looking to find? What are they looking to get when they ask parties like S&P to provide their independent analysis? First of all, they need a tool for communication. They understand that currently we're seeing a kind of a new standard of engagement, and this is how ESG has transformed the communication between the different stakeholders in the market. Supply chain has been very much affected, because that's what the parties are currently doing. They're trying to understand how ESG factors are now affecting the members of the supply chain, but also the governance practice in the supply chain. We mentioned the shareholders, but also, again, investor relations matters for issuers, because that has found a new dimension, a new push. And internal strategy. Internal strategy matters for issuers because the new benchmarks have been introduced in the past 2 years. So, I mean, we can elaborate on that, but I think that answers your question, Cenk.
Yeah, let's leave that lovely part to the second question. Thank you, Elena. Thank you very much. Aslı, I'm calling you Aslı. We've been together for many years in the board of TÜYİD as well, with lovely things done there. You're an excellent organization. I'm saying this because I know it, because of the contribution of 80 extensively good institutions, companies within TÜYİD, and you make up 80% of actually the market cap of the stock exchange. So you're looking into a wide range of, let's say, information, and you reach to improve these companies, and you're a great link as TÜYİD between the investor and these companies. My question, and actually you have just done your excellent sustainability summit as well. So I'm sure you have many very recent information to mention about. My question is, from an investor relations perspective, Why has the focus really shifted to ESG, and where is it going? Where are we now, actually? Why is it should be important to companies, and how they manage their strategy, manage their forward-looking targets, and especially obviously manage ESG itself within the company. And it would be great if you look through also, as I said, the recent developments, the market regulatory developments, and the sustainable instruments aspects that are out there.
Sure. Thank you, Cenk. It's great to be here. As you suggested, this is now part of our day-to-day lives. I mean, it's really become mainstream with increasing speed, I would say, in the past few years. Obviously, there have been many drivers, are starting maybe with the ecological overshoot, the environment part, where obviously the earth is falling short of providing for our current lifestyle. We are looking at changing demographics. Half of the global workforce is now made up of millennials. These are purpose-driven individuals, and they do not separate, their business values and professional values. So as they move into more decision-making roles, they want to work for companies who are actually responsible businesses. We have seen governance issues in the past. We have seen companies in crisis because of these social issues, especially in the past 2 years. We are seeing that social issues have become very prominent in terms of safety, labor standards, the inequalities, maybe in terms of the income and gender. We are seeing that the supply chain issues are posing a big threat to the existence of companies. So basically, we have come to the point where in a world with finite resources and expectations from all stakeholders, the company should actually stand for more than just creating wealth at the expense of maximizing profits. We are seeing that companies can only move forward by taking into account and responding to the power of their employees, the customers, the society, and going forward, profitability, sustainability, these are not mutually exclusive. So they do work hand in hand. From the capital markets perspective, climate risk is now investment risk. So investors are actually looking for companies who are well prepared and who are capable of dealing with multiple risks, unprecedented risks. And these are, they can come out from any dimension at any time. And that's why we are seeing investors asking for more disclosure on all of the sustainability factors, governance, risk, environment, social issues, diversity issues, opportunities, cybersecurity. So from that perspective, we can say investors are actually driving a very significant change. And this is because they actually want to establish the true value of the company under the new dynamics, let's say. In terms of the recent developments in the markets, what we are seeing is definitely a shift from qualitative to more quantitative data. We are seeing the disclosures moving from voluntary to compulsory reporting. As you know, the UK, the EU, they have paved the way for net zero in the past few years. And we are definitely seeing other regulators around the globe following suit. SEC's recent move, for example, that was a landmark proposal. They are mandating now public companies to disclose extensive climate-related information. This is being discussed. China is planning, and then we are also seeing other countries around the globe that are enforcing disclosures before 2025. On the investor front, we are seeing that the number of organizations supporting the TCFD have actually grown fivefold since 2018. And they represent a huge asset size, $194 trillion in assets from the financial institutions' perspective. One of the issues we have been dealing with until now was that there were multiple reporting standards, as you know, and we are finally seeing a convergence on that front. This is very, very encouraging. The reporting is really aimed at giving investors what they are in need of to make these informed decisions, right? So transparent, consistent, clear information. And it needs to be information that is comparable around the globe for different companies, for different markets, for different industries. So in response to this demand, we have seen the establishment of ISSB last year, the International Sustainability Standards Board. And so we will see going forward that ESG data and financial data will probably be issued at the same time with the same reporting package. This is what we are seeing on the reporting front. Obviously, this is going to take a huge toll on the responsibility of IROs. And finally, on the instruments, on the financing instruments, we are seeing that there's obviously a lot of investment requirement by the companies. There's growing investor appetite. So we do see a lot of new instruments. The size of the industry is now immense. So socially responsible investment, it's grown to more than 30 trillion. This is now 1/3 of the professionally managed assets around the globe. Last year, for example, we have seen a brand new instrument by the World Bank. You might remember the market knows it as the Rhino bond. And recently, we have seen sustainability-linked bonds grow immensely. It's grown in the first quarter only at 200%. And obviously, in all these instruments, we see a rapidly growing market. We see new issuers entering. Integrity is now of critical importance to deal with the increasing risk of greenwashing. And we will also talk about that. But on the regulatory front, we do welcome EU's Green Bond Standard, which is now aiming at providing higher transparency and regulation around these sustainable debt capital markets.
Excellent timing for both of you. Thank you very much for that. Actually, very interesting points, Aslı, and I like the point you made, especially regarding how the investors would establish real value, the risk and the value aspect, and how they would want to balance that. And from that point, coming to you, Elena, back to you, Elena. When looking for finance, especially for companies when they've established their ESG, let's say, basics, and they want to move forward for finance, what do the issuers really concentrate on regarding the E factor, the S factor, and the G factor? And what would they need to be recognized in for the companies, mentioned companies, in the international arena when issuing, ready to catch the eye and catch the interest, or let's say make a name, for investors? Basically, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. It's interesting how even the language is changing under the new ESG influence reality, right? We now have green instruments. We now have brown. We have a new term which is greenium, which is premium for green instruments. Right, we've seen again. We're seeing green instruments, social instruments. We're seeing COVID-related bonds. We're seeing refugee bonds now in the current reality. This is one of the ideas which has been discussed. But I think it's interesting to look at ESG and to separate each element from the rest of them. And when we at S&P do it, we actually, that's what we're looking actually at. We look at environmental profile, social profile, and governance profile separately, and then put them together and assess the company's preparedness through the lens of these profiles. And just to maybe elaborate a little bit more on them. So what's in the environmental profile? What we are paying attention at? Greenhouse emissions, water, waste and pollution, land use. This is what the companies actually need to pay attention to before they even go into ESG, how they are prepared on that front. social has especially gained momentum during the COVID, because this is where the employer's responsibility towards its employees has come forward. And that's why we're looking at workforce diversity, safety management, customer engagement, communities. Communities is a very interesting factor, because again, as was mentioned, there is and as Aslı mentioned, there is a generation which sees a community work as one of the important factors that the employer pays attention to. So this is quite new, right, for the people of older generation, that actually someone who works for a company doesn't take into account just the salary, but a multitude of factors, how the company sees itself on the forefront of different ESG initiatives. Governance profile, let me transition to that. Structure and oversight, business code and values of the company, transparency and reporting, financial and operational risks. So this is what's been taken into account, and only after that we can look at the preparedness of the company and see it on the longer horizon. It's also an interesting aspect in assessing ESG risks and it's becomes very visible when we compare credit ratings and ESG ratings that S&P assigns. That horizon of ESG evaluation that we do is actually a lot longer. So when we're talking about ESG initiatives, when we're talking about climate initiative, the horizon is the next 20 to 30 years. That's why we're talking about 2030, 2050. So this is quite amazing, isn't it? That currently people are not just thinking about what's going to happen. Well, it's very hard to predict, and now we understand it very clearly, especially with COVID and the current unrest is in the region. It makes it even harder to predict. But still, the mankind is thinking on a longer horizon, and that's what the companies like ours is trying to do. So maybe just a few words about the green world and where it actually we're seeing that the green instruments are being issued. As said, investors are looking at comparability, not just within sectors, but across industries. What we're seeing actually is the rise, as Aslı said, the rise of the issue of sustainability-linked bonds, green bonds, social bonds, and all the other bonds, renewable energy, transport, buildings, energy efficiency, water, fossil fuels, agriculture, waste. Many sectors are seeing now as, being an interest for issues, first of all, but for the investors in the first place. So let me stop here and give Aslı some time to answer her question too.
As I say, excellent timing. Thank you so much, Elena, for that. Aslı, basically, my questions come, and these go one after the other. You're really putting it on the right track. The role in putting the company from an investor relations perspective on the right track for those things that Elena has mentioned. Really, what do the investor relation people do, and what should they have to do, and how does that really affect the company? How does it direct the company, and how much they should be involved on the sustainability matters, sustainable side of matters, let's say, and also I'd like you to touch upon the issue of greenwashing. Obviously, an important aspect that no company would like to be named with regards to how the investor sees the company, and how the investor relation person is in difficulty in trying to relate to the reality with that respect. I leave it to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cenk. A lot. The IROs should be completely involved end to end, and I would just like to summarize why. Now, sustainability, obviously, it's on everybody's agenda, and it should be on everybody's agenda because it's a very complex matter and it does require an input and some action from everybody. But of course, when we look at the global landscape as well, we see that asset owners stand out as the main stakeholder. They do drive action. They have an impact investment approach right now. So from a company's perspective, this brings sustainability under the direct responsibility of the management and the board. And this is where investor relations play a very critical role in advancing with sustainability matters and in advancing in the right direction. Because we are responsible from a two-way communication. We don't just talk about what's inside the company to the investment community, but we also communicate what the global dynamics are, the global best practices are, the expectations of the investment community are to the company management as well as the policymakers. So in coordinating with the policymakers, in developing effective strategies that cater multiple stakeholders in the right direction, in terms of creating board level awareness, in terms of getting the board to own responsibility of sustainability matters, and really shifting the company mindset from a box ticking exercise to a holistic approach that fully embraces sustainability, that really has sustainability at every step of decision making and doing the business. This is where we think IROs are really creating this awareness and why they are so instrumental. And this also leads to the avoidance of greenwashing, which we will touch upon. But, creating new, we do see, obviously, we have a lot of different levels in different markets, major markets, emerging markets. We have financial companies, industrial companies, they all have different requirements. But what we are advocating is, regardless of the size, regardless of the industry of the company, yes, we might have different organizational structures and needs in each of the corporates. But in order to set the strategy right and make sure we are going in the right direction, we should stop working in silos. We should stop adding new layers, and we should ensure that investor relations are actually involved in every step of the way. And this will ensure that the company is actually going in the right direction. At the same time, of course, as we've been discussing, the data sets, they are growing, they are becoming more granular. We want to give the investors the opportunity to make more informed investment decisions. So from that perspective, we are also playing a very important role in the in establishing the confidence and in gaining depth in capital markets and new instruments. As IROs, our main responsibility is transparent communication. This is what we do. This is what we know best. So the responsibility, additional responsibility right now is ensuring that non-financial data disclosure, the processes are now given the same level of focus, importance, and they become as detailed and as consistent as the financial data, because as you know, the financial data gets a lot of focus, right? In terms of reporting, in terms of the deadlines, in terms of audit. So we have to now make sure, as the next level, that both sets of information are disclosed where and when possible at the same time, at the same level, getting the same kind of attention, and expertise, I would say, from senior management. When we look at the investor expectations, obviously, they don't necessarily want more data per se, but it's important that we provide meaningful data on what is important for that company. So materiality is very important. And our job will then be, as it is on the financial data, developing the narrative, developing the key messages, delivering them on a timely, consistent manner to the investment community. And to really combine this with the qualitative data, because we're also always talking about the board quality, the purpose of our company, and why we choose what's material to our company, and how we are looking at moving forward, right? So again, we should really strive to bring the expertise that we have in the financial reporting to the non-financial side. On the greenwashing side, unfortunately, you know, we all know what should be done, but is it being done? Is it really the case that corporates embrace this to move to the next level, operations and strategy? And this is what we are questioning. And, you know, decisions, you know, do we have that kind of clean data, concrete data, strong data? Has it become part of the day-to-day decision-making process? Does it really focus on equality, inclusion as a company culture? Because where these things don't happen, we actually see that sustainability is still a matter of compliance or social responsibility or reporting, which we call just a box-ticking exercise. You know, it should not be used to create new silos or reporting levels. And once this is actually done, the companies will really put away the risk of greenwashing.
Excellent.
Because greenwashing actually comes now with potential litigation. It does wreak havoc on your corporate reputation, not to mention the financial risk.
Absolutely. I think it's a great ending to this meeting. I think we put forward in a very little time all the major aspects that the companies have to look into. Elena, I like the way you said this is a long horizon. You know, sustainability. It's a challenge for everyone, but a good challenge, obviously. And I like the way you said, Aslı, it's a complex matter. It involves everyone, and investor relations people have an important role in it. Thank you very much for contributing. I think it was a lovely meeting, and thank you very much for listening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.